the perceived value is why everybody wanted to go to this college. It's like, well, it's just the most prestigious, as that name associated with me is going to bring, better situations or better opportunities is the word I was looking for, my way, just because of the Harvard name or the Cornell name. What is going on? What is going on? What is going on, everybody, man? Welcome back to the third episode of Chronicles, man. We are making it all the way to the third episode, man. I got to keep saying that just so I can continue to get videos out. I was a little bit late on this one. I am recording this one on Sunday morning. So still getting the videos out, but I definitely do need to improve my schedule. I think this is what we're going to be doing in terms of guests. We'll probably have a guest every other episode. So it'll be just a me episode, and then we'll have some guests to just kind of get that variety in there, and then also get in some of the topics that I just want to talk to you guys about or give my opinion on, or things that happened during the week or whatever. That is, man. I know I don't know about anybody else, but I'm definitely super tired on this Sunday, man. I was supposed to start, well, I think 2 weeks ago, I started waking, like at the beginning of that week, 2 weeks ago, I started waking up at 8 o'clock, and I wanted to get some stuff done, just from that 8 to 11 window. I usually go to work around 11 o'clock. And I was like, oh, I can get some things done, maybe script the video, maybe edit or film a video, probably not film a video in the morning. But I was like, yeah, I can get some things done. Maybe I can start working out, blah, 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 blah. And I was getting up in the morning, but I wasn't using that time like to anything productive, man. I was literally either scrolling through TikTok, on YouTube, or just thinking about how I didn't want to get up, and I was just up in my bed and not doing anything. So I was like, all right, so this past week, I was like, all right, I'm gonna wake up at 8. I got to the part where I'm waking up at 8. My body naturally wakes up at 8. And this week I'll start doing things at 8 o'clock, and I went backwards. Like my body still naturally woke up at 8 o'clock every single day, but I was like, oh, I know how I can utilize this 3-hour window better. Go back to sleep. So that led to me just staying up later. I usually been going to bed around 12 or 1, and then it became 1 to 2 to 2 to 3, all over again. So gotta get the sleep schedule back on track. Hopefully we can do that this week, but yeah, man, not a bunch happened this week, but I did want to start out the podcast talking about something I was talking about on stream. I was talking about I just put in my notes, gaming deficiency, but it's not necessarily the best term for it. I think it's just the lack of like a new exciting game for the whole gaming community. It's very rare that you have games that like encapsulate the whole community of gaming, where like pretty much every aspect of people that, every group of gamers is immersed in that new game. And so you saw that really big with GTA back in 2013. Everybody that really played any kind of video games has played GTA, or they know about it, and they know how successful it is. And that's probably the first time I have seen that like in my life. I think that there was obviously when Nintendo came out, like the Mario games, everybody was encapsulated in those. Everybody's played those. If you grew up in that time, I mean, there's obviously still new Mario games coming out today, but I don't know if everybody's playing. It's kind of more of a niche. Maybe that's just because I'm not on that side, but I just know I'm not, and there's not a huge market for people streaming it or things like that. But maybe that doesn't mean that there's not still a huge community around it. I still believe that there is a huge community, but it's not encapsulating everybody in the gaming community right now. So that was probably the first time I seen that. I guess you go back to the Mario games. Like I said on this podcast before, man, the Mario Kart was the best thing in the world. That was super cool. And I never really played the I don't know if it's called like Mario's World or whatever it's called. I think I remember when I broke my arm, my parents bought me like a Mario World game where you actually had to go through the different levels, like you jump over stuff and all that. I don't know what those games are called, bro. I can't remember, but it was like a Mario and Luigi, Super World or whatever it is. And I played that and beat it within like a month, but that was definitely pretty fun. But anyway, we saw that, obviously the most recent example of this is the Battle Royale series, especially Fortnite. You just saw a huge explosion with Fortnite. Fortnite was everywhere. Moms were playing, dads were playing, everybody on the planet had heard of Fortnite. And that's kind of a unique scenario because I think even GTA didn't reach that level of just like explosion, especially at the start. Maybe it still has that name today after it's been out for 7, 8 years. But I just thought it was interesting that, what Fortnite did, it definitely changed the space and some aspects. But I guess to the crux of the point, I am waiting on that next game that does encapsulate the whole community that I am really excited to play, to progress in, because I don't necessarily have that game right now. Call of Duty is not it, man. It's just not it. A lot of people are quitting Call of Duty because they don't feel that there's no focus on multiplayer. I'm definitely in that camp. I like multiplayer. I'm not super huge on the battle royales. I think really the only battle royale that I like is Fortnite. Really, I mean, I don't play Fortnite anymore. I don't love the mechanics. I was just playing it on stream a couple of days ago. I don't really love the mechanics. And the weapons and the choices that they made. I spoke about that previously, but I did like the game because it added a different aspect of the battle royales, which is that you could build. And so I like the fact that if somebody starts shooting at you, you don't have to like outgun them. You don't have to outgun them to survive, and you can just build. And if you're good at building as well as being on target with your shots and whatever, then you're pretty much very good at the game. With Warzone, if somebody catches you lacking, they start shooting at you first with a godly weapon. There's pretty much nothing you can do, and especially if you're playing solo. And if you're playing with a team, then you're downed, and then you don't want to, it's like, I don't know. But with Fortnite, fights would last a lot longer than they do Warzone. I mean, at least I think. Just because you could build out of them. And people I know there were some people that hated that. They're like, oh, I shoot at you and you can just build a tower. But I thought that was cool because if you could build a tower and you could outbuild somebody and trap somebody with your builds, I thought that was cool. I thought it added a different aspect of the game that I thoroughly enjoyed. So that's why I had a really good time with Fortnite from 2017 to 2014. I mean, 2017 to 2019. But yeah, man, I don't know what that next game is going to be. I would love for Call of Duty to kind of be revived again. I would love to just see them put a lot of effort into multiplayer. And I think they have a pretty good model with the multiplayer that they have now. They don't make it so that there's DLCs. I mean, there used to be DLCs where you'd have to pay for that. And now you don't have to pay for extra content coming into the game. They make a lot of money through microtransactions in terms of just in-game cosmetics, which is cool. I think that should be a thing. Because obviously it doesn't make your weapon more powerful. So I can have a standard black weapon and you could have a, anime skin weapon, and mine is still going to do the same amount of damage as yours, even though yours has pink bullets and, a purple skin. It is, if you want to pay for that, you can. But if you don't, obviously you're still going to be able to have the same advantages in the game. So I think that's a great model that they have, but they're just not putting enough effort into the content in terms of like the maps, and other things to entice people to play the game. So I'm very disappointed in that. I'm not sure for the people that play Warzone, let me know if you're really enjoying Warzone, if you think they're doing a good job with Warzone right now, or you think they could improve. I know that the cheating scandal, but the cheating is kind of crazy. In Warzone. So I don't know, man, but let me know what you guys think. What do you think what do you think the next game is going to be? I mean, I know you can't really predict it, but what do you think the genre is? Do you think that, I know GTA 6, speaking on GTA, I know GTA 6 will be the next game, like for sure. When that comes out, everybody will stop what they're doing and play that game. Like it just doesn't matter because GTA holds so much weight from the games that they have put out. I mean, it's a miracle. I mean, it's not a miracle. I mean, it is a miracle that GTA is crazy, even still to this day. But it's not a miracle in the same light because they have built something so great that even 8 years later down the line of its release, it is still one of the best selling games of all time. Like, how do you have more people buying your game 8 years down the line than you did initially. That's just a crazy stat to me, and how it's always in the top selling games, even after being out so long. But with the GTA role play, I think that's super cool. I don't know if I'll ever get into it just because of how buggy it is, man. Like, I want something to be smooth. But I do think it's a cool aspect, and I think it's definitely good content to watch. But GTA 6 will definitely be that. I probably will switch to GTA 6 whenever it comes out, just because I enjoyed GTA for so long. Whenever I got it, whenever I snuck and got GTA, I probably played it for at least 2 to 3 years before I switched to something else. I was playing COD at the time, but not really. So GTA was definitely it for me. Like, that's what my main focus was. That's what my main game was. So but yeah, let me know down in the comments what you think the next genre of that game is going to be. And yeah, if you guys were into GTA and Fortnite as well, or you just didn't feel affected by that market, or maybe you guys were into another game. I'm not sure. But yeah, I think that's tough, and it's almost tough on creators as well, because I think it's kind of hard to have a passion for a game right now. I know some people, I'm not speaking for everybody, but I'm just saying that it's hard especially for the Call of Duty community, when the people that are actually creating the game aren't really aren't really communicating with its fans, and giving the fans what they want. Or what they even need to keep the game running. So that's kind of hard on creators, but just hard on creators in general, because there's not that booming game that everybody is into. So I don't know. That's something I just wanted to bring up that I talked about in a stream, but I thought I just wanted to elaborate about it a little bit, man. All right, so I wanted to cover this topic. I was actually talking about it with my mom earlier this week, but I was talking about how it's crazy. I mean, it's a very simple topic and can become more complex as it goes on, but I was talking about how it's crazy that things in this world only have value because we as humans place a value on it. If we place $1 value on that piece of paper that says $1. If we just decided that $1 was not worth $100, or we decided that value was zero as a collective, then that piece of paper would be worthless. And now every $1 bill, would either be worth a lot more or a lot less, just depending on what the perceived value of that thing is by our society, right? And the reason I got onto this topic was because I was doing some research on NFTs, probably for the last couple of months. But if you don't know what an NFT it stands for a non-fungible token. These include your cryptocurrencies, your digital. It's really a digital asset. It's usually, when you use the term NFTs, it can be used for other things, of course. But I was reading a story about how this artist was creating these like digital art pieces for like 14 years, I believe. He's creating it for like 14 years, and he just did it because he liked it. He didn't necessarily think he was going to sell it for a whole bunch of money or sell it for much money at all. But he just was creating these art pieces and was like, well, I'm just going to keep doing it because that's what I like to do, and worked a normal job and did all his other stuff. But just recently he sold pretty much all of the digital art that he had for like $69 million, which is just insane. This man has now created generational wealth for him and his family. And that's pretty insane. And now this guy is older, but it's and I think he goes with a name like Beeple for his his artist name or whatever. But it's just a crazy concept that we as humans 5 years ago placed no value on anything digital. I mean, you could say we place value on Bitcoin and Ethereum and your other coins, your other cryptocurrencies, but we didn't really place a value. Like, they weren't worth that much. And now, I mean, today, if you just want to look at Bitcoin, or if you just want to look at digital art pieces are selling for nowhere under $5,000. Like the starting price is $5,000. And everybody that's doing digital art is just selling their pieces like crazy because people have now put value on these NFTs. It's like, well, I want to buy this so that when this artist does more things, this will appreciate. Or maybe I just like the piece and I'm willing to pay 1 million for it. Just like car enthusiasts are willing to pay 1 million for a Lamborghini or 1 million for whatever kind of car they want. So I just thought that was an interesting concept. It's a once you kind of understand that concept, it's an interesting it's just an interesting thing to think about in terms of everything else in the world. I mean, if you think about, look at just college, the cost of college just compared in the last 20 years has gone up just crazy. Like, I mean, you can't even account for why college has gone up as much as it has, where people are paying 50 grand for 1 year at an institution. And then it's like people instantly go into debt for college because the perceived value of college is more than $200,000 for 4 years. It's just, well, I'm going to come out of college. I'm going to get a job, because I went to college, I'm going to get a high paying job, and then I'll be able to pay off that debt. And then I'll be able to live great, later on. And that's the perceived value. But it's like, well, what if we kept the perceived value at $10,000, or $1,000, and you just pay $1,000 for every year that you attend college? Of course, you kind of have to balance, what the school is actually spending on you and all that, those things. But it's not $50,000. They don't need $50,000 from you each year that you're out of school. Like the cost of having you is not $50,000 for all the amenities that you have. And so it's like, well, it's just an interesting concept to think about, in terms of whatever we place value on and how much we're willing to pay for anything that we own, or just continue to buy. So I thought it was an interesting concept to talk about on the podcast. Let me know what are your thoughts on that, and also what are your thoughts on NFTs. If you do know a lot about the space, maybe we'll have to talk about a little bit more about NFTs on the podcast. But I know a lot of people have covered that, so or are not interested, which is fair. But I don't know what else I got on the. See what else we got on the podcast agenda, man. Oh yeah. So I was watching. Actually, just watched this last night. But I was watching a documentary on the college admissions scandal. I was really intrigued by it. I didn't know they were coming out with one. I think I saw a TikTok on a little clip from the documentary, and that kind of piqued my interest. But the college admissions scandal that happened with, I think it was like in total like 60 wealthy families in 2018, where these families were paying small donations to these colleges to get their kid accepted. And for whatever reason, we don't know. But I mean, I guess you could say we don't know, but it's really just the prestige of these colleges. The prestige of these colleges is the reason that everybody wants to go to Harvard or, to Cornell or any of the Ivy Leagues. It's just, well, this school has prestige. So we're just gonna, everybody wants to get into Harvard. Everybody wants to get into whatever college it is that has such high prestige. But what I thought there was a bunch of things interesting that they talked about in the film. We'll cover the first one, and the first thing that was, well, not first thing that was talked about, but the first thing I'm going to cover was how they were talking about in the basically in the 1900s, they started ranking colleges based on prestige. Like they literally just started saying that this was the best college or this was the best college based on the amount of prestige it had behind it. So just how much people, and this basically goes right back into the conversation we were just having, but how much people valued this school, how much they valued this name. And so these colleges started to get up there in terms of rankings, like, oh, Harvard's number one, or Cornell's number one, or Penn is number one, and the perceived value is why everybody wanted to go to this college. It's like, well, it's just the most prestigious, as that name associated with me is going to bring better situations or better opportunities, is the word I was looking for, my way, just because of the Harvard name or the Cornell name. And to me, that's kind of crazy. I mean, the initial like ranking system of colleges was based off one thing, which was prestige, not how great the education was, not how great the facilities were for whatever thing you were trying to do. And now obviously it's a little bit more regulated in terms of, or the information is just out there more of like, oh, well, Harvard is good for med school, or, Cornell is good for engineering, things like that. But it is, even in a way, till this day, still true in the fact that the education difference between something like a Harvard or a Penn State or a community college, like we'll just say those are three tiers. Penn State would be a mid-tier school, Harvard would be a top tier school, and then a community college would be considered a low tier school for these purposes, right? The education at which you are able to get at each one of these colleges doesn't vary drastically. It doesn't vary drastically based on what prestige we hold to it and the amount of money we pay for it. So you're telling me basically what we have told the world, or the world, has told us, is that a $60,000 education at Harvard is justified for $60,000, but a $2,000 education, or we'll say $10,000 education at a community college is not justified. Or their education is so much less that it costs 50 grand less. Or you could put it the other way around, like Harvard costs 50 grand more because that education is so much more worth it, when it's really just the name. It's just, oh, well, you're a Harvard grad. Okay, well, you made it through Harvard. It's great. Like, we're just going to put you in this program or whatever. It's like, it's just the prestige of the name. And so that's just an interesting concept to me. I mean, I've always thought about that in terms of, these Ivy League colleges and people getting stressed out about getting into them. And that's another point I want to talk about. They talked a lot about in the film that, about the climate in today's world of how teenagers are so stressed on getting into college and how they think it's the end of the world, which I definitely went through. Like, I really just thought it was the end of the world, getting into college. And you're like, oh, well, you can say that now because you're in college. Well, number one, my views have changed on college even since being in. And then number two, I couldn't have another view on college until I went through the application process and then realized what college was. Like, it was just impossible for me to have that view, because the view I had of college was that, hey, you're going to this school, you're going to this high school to make sure that you get into college. So you're doing all of these things. You have to do things that you may or may not like. You're forced to do, these things just to show up good on the resume, so that you can get into college. So if you're taught that as a that's not the right word, but if you're taught that as a kid, we'll just say, then you're going to put this enormous value on college as you grow up, and it is going to be the end all be all. I mean, if you grow up and people are telling you, oh, well, the whole point of high school is to get into college, then it's like, oh, well, if I don't get into college, or if I don't get into these top colleges as well, then, well, I'm just not valuable. And so they were just talking a little bit about that. And I don't want to spoil the film too much. I mean, I'm just talking about some of the points that they talked about. But it has nothing to do with like the actual story of the college admission scandal, which is the main film. Like it's actually a really good film or documentary. So you guys should definitely check it out if you're interested. But yeah, I think that's something. And I think I will talk about my views a little bit more on college in a later podcast. But yeah, I just thought that was an interesting thing. And there was one more thing I wanted to talk about in there. So yeah, the different opportunities that there are other than college. I think that was one of the things they covered at the end of the film, that because people are so stressed and because people think college is the end all be all, they aren't looking for other options to do in life. There are a lot of people that go to college and realize, hey, college isn't for me, and there are other paths that they can take. And especially in this age of the digital era, or whatever you want to call it, era, there's so many opportunities online to make a living and do what you want to do in terms of, you can do content creation, you can start your own business. There's other things that you can do in terms of not going to a 4-year college, in terms of trade school, or in terms of just getting certificates for different things. I know with computer science, you can get certificates in certain languages and then continue working that your job will pay for. And people just aren't looking for those other avenues because they do feel that college is the end all be all. And so I think it's really important in this day and age, for sure, to just be looking for the best option for you. And it's tough because it may not be until that you're in college for a year that you feel that the other another option was right for you. And I there was something that I don't know what theorem it is or whatever it's called, but there was a TikTok that was talking about not letting the time and effort that you put into something affect the decision that you make to stop doing that thing. So saying that, oh, I already put 1 year into college, so I should just complete the next 4 years, or, oh, well, I already put, that concept, not letting that derail you from another opportunity that you might find more fulfilling in life, or just better for you in general, whether that be your mental health, whether that be your financial, wealth, whatever it is. And I think that's a cool, I think that's an interesting concept, because a lot of people do stay in things, whatever it may be in. It could be relationships, it could be, it could be college, it could be, anything in life. They stay in things too long because it's comfortable, or I've already invested this amount of time, so I might as well just finish it. And while there might be a solid argument to that, sometimes if there's something completely different that you want to do, then it's just not worth it. Like if you're in year 1 and you're doing computer science, but then you really want to be a biomedical engineer or whatever it is. And I can't think of the word that I'm trying to think of, but you want to be a doctor, then don't just stick with being an engineer or a computer scientist for the next 4 years just because you did that at first. Or even if you put 2 to 3 years in it, there's always time to change what you want to do, or it's always going to be better to change it earlier than suffer with whatever you're doing now and then change it way down the road when you've already made sacrifices into spending more time in that and to learning something that you didn't even want to, be a part of in your life. So I don't know, this conversation kind of drifted off, but I just wanted to talk about that because I thought it was a cool documentary, and it has some good points, just talking about college in general, and just the general college rankings and how we hold names that are big in college to be, we just hold them so high. But why? Why is that education worth 65 grand? Why is Harvard the best school? Have you really looked at why it is? And have I specifically? No. So, I can't get into that specific conversation. But yeah, I think it's definitely something to take a closer look at. But I don't know what's next on the podcast thing, man. This might be a shorter podcast, which is fine. I'm probably, when I'm only by myself, I will probably do 30 to 40 minutes. because I don't want to bore you guys, but maybe I've already done that. I don't know. I have things that I've like, I'm reading my notes and I just have a lot of things that I could talk about for 40 minutes. So I'm not trying to, we'll use those in some different podcasts. Oh yeah. I think this is an interesting, like concept or just thing to think about that I hadn't heard put this way. I was listening to a podcast. I'm not sure. I cut a few clips out of this podcast, so I'm not sure if I already mentioned it. But I was thinking about, or I was listening to a podcast by Tanner Fox, and he had a guest on that was talking. I don't even remember the guest name. I just know it was on Tanner Fox's podcast. But he was talking about it's hard to find people that that want to work with you and build with you and build your vision, and that aren't trying to become you. I think that that statement definitely got my mind, the wheels turning. Like I've always been a person that is like, independent. I want to do my own thing. I want to eventually be my own boss. I want to, create things on my own. And obviously I'll probably have my own team, but I don't want to be in a situation where other people are telling me what to do, or I have to meet a quota for somebody else. That may be a part of my life, which I can accept to a degree. But I've just kind of always had that view. And that was just an interesting sentiment for me, because in terms of getting people to help me with a business I'm trying to grow, or an endeavor that I'm trying to make happen, it's going to be super important to make sure that the people around me aren't trying to be the thing that I am trying to be. They aren't trying to be that YouTube creator. They aren't trying to take over what like my business is. And I don't even know why. I just found that just so interesting, that it's something as a boss that you have to be thinking about. The CEOs of these companies, and when you have people that are directly under you, and I'm not talking about, I guess Jeff Bezos is not worried about, what the guy he hired for, to pack some packages, if he's trying to become the next Jeff Bezos. I guess that's not necessarily what I'm talking about, but I'm talking about a more tight knit, boss, employee relationship, where if that person is trying to, actually become you, then the work that they do, or the product of that relationship, is not going to be as good as if that person is really just trying to build what you want. Like they're trying to help your get your vision and help you succeed, and not learn for themselves and take over your business. It kind of goes both ways, because the reason I pause is because, yes, you can be under somebody and learn for you can learn what they're doing. Like if you're under, let's say, I'll just take this example that I've heard before. If you're a mechanic, right, and you're working in the shop, but you originally, but you in the future you want to own your own shop. If you're under the person that's running that shop, and you're a mechanic in that shop, and you're learning on how to be, that person that's running the shop, then I guess that's a valuable relationship for that person. I guess for the boss, I don't know how valuable it is for them, but it's cool to help that person out. But what I guess I'm necessarily talking about is somebody that is trying to not undermine you in a way, but just isn't there to build your idea. There are a lot of people that just want to be given tasks, and they went to school for a certain thing, and they can do that certain thing. And that's what they want to be paid for. Like, they don't want to have the idea. They just want to be like, hey, I can do this for you. So, and however you want to build it, that's how I will do it, because I have the skills to do that. And they're cool. But then there are also people that are trying to get to a different point in their life. And they're like, hey, whatever you want it to be, I'm going to do that, but I'm also going to be trying to get to where you're at in the process. So I'm not really worried about your vision of the company or what you want done in this project. I'm more worried about how am I going to get to the seat of directing, where I want my vision. Like, I have a completely different vision, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, I just thought that was an interesting sentiment, and not sentiment, but just topic that person brung up, and just something that, you know, people that are going to be in a business or choose to go into a business endeavor with a partner or multiple partners should be thinking about. So this piqued my interest, but yeah, I don't know. But I think that's going to be it for the podcast today, man. I'm not going to make it too long. I wanted to get something up because I know I can't stop uploading, man. I started this. We got to go all the way to the end of the year, and then another year and another year and another year. I know I'm going to appreciate this when I can watch these back and I'd be like, yeah, man, I started a podcast when I was 20 years old. That's cool. If nobody watches it, it'll just be a time capsule, right? But yeah, make sure you all subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed to already, man. Share the episode if you thought it was interesting. If not, that's cool, man. I appreciate you watching this long, so it must have been interesting, right? If you're listening to this. But yeah, make sure to give it a like as well. Follow me on the socials and the links in the description. And oh yeah, we forgot about the Cam Chronicles tip. I said Cam Chronicles. Cam cheat codes, man. The Cam cheat code for the for this episode is a lot of people consume a lot of content. They consume, but they're not creating. If you want to be a creator, you have to learn how to not consume as much content as you do, but also strategically consume content. So consume content that is going to make your content better. And what I mean is, you know, if you're trying to be a Call of Duty YouTuber, you should be watching Call of Duty streamers, you know, and how they are executing their streams or how they are executing their videos. If you want to be, you know, a baker, then why are you not consuming media or content that is about what you want to do? And so I think that's something I'm definitely still struggling with. I consume a lot of content in terms of YouTube that is not necessarily helping helping me get better as a creator. Of course, you know, you need that time to just consume mindless content. That's not what I'm trying to get at. But if you're spending 3 hours a day on TikTok, which I am guilty of some days, like I just admitted at the beginning of this episode, then maybe it's time to kind of either use that 3 hours to look at some more educational content for you to learn about whatever you're trying to do, or just not consume that content and work on what you're actually trying to build, or put it to some more productive time. So that's the Cam cheat code of the day. Definitely has helped me over the years. Don't know who I heard it from, but shout out to you. I'm pretty sure it's just a common sentiment, but I keep using that word wrong, and that's sentiment, but it's just a common saying or whatever, common piece of advice. But yeah, that's going to be that's the Cam cheat code. Already said it, man. Make sure to sub up down below. Make sure to leave a like down below. Share the episode if you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next week. Peace out.